What's up, guys? Matt here with a review for Avengers Infinity War. It's been 10 years since the release of Iron Man, the first film in the MCU, and 18 movies worth of setup, character introductions, and build-up have all been leading to this moment. I just want to say that there will be some minor spoilers in this review. This movie is huge. The cast, the stakes, the scope, there is just so much to talk about with this movie, and it's really hard to go into details without giving an overly long, detailed review, which I'm not going to do. So I'm mainly going to summarize most of my points. Let me say first of all, I've already seen it twice. This was a terrific movie. Right now I'm putting it up there at about the same place as Black Panther in terms of quality. One of the inherent problems of making a movie like this is that it's so huge and it's got such a large scope and so many characters, so many stories going on at once that it really is a very difficult task that they've got ahead of them to make it work. But again, they've had 10 years and 18 movies worth of setup leading up to this point. And I think they did a really good job of giving the movie enough detail so that it makes sense and the stories coalesce and the majority of the characters have a sense of purpose. And, not making it overly complicated so that it seems too convoluted or confusing. And then there's Thanos. Thanos was introduced in the original Avengers during a mid-credits scene, and since then we haven't really gotten much exposure to him. This is the first time we really get to see what kind of a being he really is. And from what they gave us from the movie, he's intimidating, dangerous, and very powerful, but he's also intelligent, calculating, and also complex. I understand that in the comics, the reason he was killing everyone is so that he could, gather their souls and present them to the physical embodiment of the Mistress of Death, or something like that. And that was even referenced in the Avengers mid-credits sequence. But they did away with that and instead made it where he's a being who's trying to bring balance to the universe by, let's just say, population control. I actually did like that. I think that makes him a more interesting character. And I thought Josh Brolin was a very good choice to do the voice. And the characters. There is so much to say about the characters in this movie. I can make an entire movie of my own just by talking about everything I have to say about them. So I'm just going to touch on a few key points. First of all the performers do a great job with their prospective roles. Every time I watched a character on film, even though the movie does feel like its own movie, every time I watched a particular character, I felt like I was watching them in any one of the movies they're in. Like if I was watching Spider-Man, I felt like I was watching a Spider-Man movie. If I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy, I felt like I was watching a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. If I was watching Iron Man or the Hulk or Captain America, Black Widow, I felt like I was watching an Avengers movie. Or when we get to Wakanda, I felt like I was watching a Black Panther movie. They did such a great job of making, for lack of a better phrasing, every particular franchise that shows up in the film feel like its own, while at the same time making it feel like its own movie. And a lot of that had to do with everything from the cinematography, the directing, the music composition. I mean, it all comes together, but overall, they just did a great job with it. Second, Rocket Raccoon, love him. Definitely one of my favorites. Third, out of the 3 appearances by Spider-Man in the MCU, this one was definitely my favorite. From the dialogue, the jokes, the performance, and the emotion put into this character, this is my favorite Spider-Man appearance. Actually, I'd have to say, probably for any Spider-Man movie up till now, this one was my favorite. One character that shows up in the film, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Eitri? He's the Dwarf King that appears when Thor goes to get a new hammer. And I don't know how they kept this a secret that he is in this movie, but the actor they got to play him was a very pleasant surprise. I was thoroughly shocked. And for that reason, I'm not going to say who it is. I will say one thing. I said before, the majority of characters in this movie are given a sense of purpose. And while I would say every character in the movie essentially is given something to do, it doesn't feel like they all have a sense of purpose in this movie. Many of them are relegated to really minor roles, and they don't really serve much purpose. Characters like Drax, to a certain extent, Mantis, Groot, Shuri. She was in a clip they released on YouTube, and they made it seem like they were going to give her a bigger role, but she's barely in this movie. I just think, I don't know, this film is kind of, it is fairly, it does seem somewhat compressed. They probably cut out a good chunk of her scenes as well as a good chunk of most of the other character scenes. And that's another thing I wanted to say about this movie is, I really think they actually could have made this into 2 movies. I mean, there are a number of scenes I think they could have gone into. Like, we never see Thanos actually get the first Infinity Stone. When we first see Vision, he's already with Scarlet Witch. And that wasn't established beforehand, so... Or maybe it was in some other medium. I don't know. I just know I was kind of lost when that happened. There are other things that happen in the movie I feel like that could have been expanded a bit. I can understand why they left it out, and you know what? I don't think the movie actually suffers for it. It still comes out really well done. It's just a thought. It's not really a complaint. It's just, something I would personally have liked to see. But as for the characters, I do think they could have expanded them a little bit more. Made them not feel like as insignificant as I feel they did. Most of those minor characters really just seem to be there for comic relief reasons. I would like to talk about the ending. I'm not going to go into details. It was well done, and it has some good emotional context to it. But here's the thing. They've already announced what films are coming out in the next phase of the MCU. Because of that, it kind of defeats the purpose. So while the ending was well done, I don't think it's going to have a lasting impression in the future. Now, one last thing I would like to say, the after credits sequence. Now, at the end of Age of Ultron, when it got to the mid-credits sequence and they showed Thanos coming out, they were preparing us for Infinity War, and I was excited. I was like, yes! But even then, before that, I was still looking forward to Infinity War. I have had no interest whatsoever in Captain Marvel. Not because I don't care. I'm neutral because I don't really know anything about her. I know that I knew that they were making a movie about her, and they got Brie Larson to star. Excellent. But other than that, I'm neutral. I didn't have any interest. Saw the after credits sequence in Infinity War. Now I'm excited. Good job, Marvel. Overall, like I said before, I compare this movie to Black Panther because I think it's about on the same level of quality, but for different reasons. With Black Panther, there were some scenes in it that were really well done, and they really touched me emotionally. And then there were other scenes that did not. With Infinity War, it didn't have any scenes that I felt were as good or as great as those done in Black Panther, but I felt it was more consistent throughout. It never really wavered in levels of quality. And so I'm going to give it the same score that I gave Black Panther, an 8.5 out of 10. It's a great movie, it's really fun, really entertaining. I definitely want to get it when it comes out to Blu-ray, and I'll probably go see it one more time in theaters, at least. And that's what I got. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.